I had just moved into my first apartment and was in the process of moving in. The door that led into my apartment locks itself automatically when closed, so I was going to the entrance of the apartment complex to get my mail while talking on the phone with my boyfriend. I returned to my apartment and sat on the bed while opening the mail and using the phone. I dropped the phone on the floor and it landed under the bed, so I had to lie on the floor to stretch for it. I saw something that caught my eye. There was someone under my bed. My eyes widened and I choked the urge to scream. The person under my bed was lying still, with his back towards me and his head to his chest, so I couldn't see his face, and he didn't see me. Trying to be rational while so many thoughts rushed through my head, I picked up the phone and said, "Sorry, I dropped my phone. I'm just gonna take a shower and call you back." The bathroom was right next to my bed, so I hastily walked in, quietly locked the door, turned the shower on, jumped out my window, and called the police. They told me to wait nearby, but to go across the street and see if anyone comes out the door to my apartment complex. This was during summer, and it was still light out. I placed myself across the street, hiding behind a car, while watching my open bathroom window and the entry door. I called my boyfriend, and he came to me just before the police. I gave them my keys, and they went inside. Only a moment later, 2 cops came out holding a thin and tired-looking man. His eyes looked crazy, but he didn't try to get away. The policeman that had stood beside me and comforted me while the police searched through my house told me that the man stood outside of my bathroom door with one of my kitchen knives, waiting for me to come out. This man had somehow crept into my entry door while I was getting my mail and had hid under my bed. The man that was trying to hurt me turned out to be a homeless person and was placed in a mental hospital. My boyfriend moved in with me the very next day. My house sits further back in the lot than most other houses. It is a strange layout as well. The sidewalk runs the length of the living room and ends at the front porch, which lets into the living room. Large windows that do not open allow great light to get into the living room, but at the cost of no privacy. The rest of my family was on vacation, and having the house to myself, I decided I would get smashed. Well, I passed out on the couch in the living room at about 9 when I realized I was too scared to walk back to my room. The couch is right underneath these big windows. I woke up suddenly, not knowing why. I had a severe case of the chills and could not figure out why. Then, the banging started. It came from right above me. I did not move, but I opened my eyes and looked at the window. Someone was standing there, pounding on the glass without moving. I looked at the cable box. It was around 3 in the morning. The banging continues, then it stops suddenly, but I still did not move. Suddenly, it commences again, coming from 2 different directions now. Someone is banging on the window, and another person is banging on the front door. They kept doing it, would not go away. Finally, after about 40 minutes, they quit. It was the most terrifying thing I can recall. It made me a nervous wreck after that. I called a friend to come stay over for the week after that. When I was a teenager, around 15 years old, I was on the phone with my boyfriend at the time and hanging out on the computer. The house I lived in at the time had these giant windows on the first floor, like 8 foot by 8 foot. I was in one of the rooms with the huge windows and had opened the drapes to let some light in. While talking on the phone with my boyfriend, I had this super eerie feeling that I was being watched, and I slowly turned towards the window, and I saw a man in tattered clothes with sweat dripping all over his body, pressed up against the window, with his hands cupped on his eyes. He gave me this horrifying smile. I immediately dropped the phone. I was on a phone with a cord, and ran into the next room and grabbed the cordless phone. I told my boyfriend what was happening, and I started crying, trying to remember when all the doors were locked. The man had to crawl over a few bushes in order to get that close to the window, which made me feel like he didn't have the best intentions. That's when the doorbell started ringing. I poked my head around the corner to see the front door, and I see the man trying to get in the house by opening the door. At this point, I'm absolutely freaking out, and my boyfriend tells me to call my mom. My mom answers at work, and she told me to hide and call the police. I called the cops crying, and then noticed out of the corner of my eye, from a window in the back of the house, that the man was making circles around my house, looking for a way to get in. The dispatcher told me to get somewhere where he couldn't see me, and to get a weapon if I felt like it would make me more comfortable. I grabbed a long chef's knife and stood sobbing in a small gap between my back door and a hallway where I couldn't be seen through any windows. Then I remembered that a first floor window was unlocked and I couldn't see or hear the man anymore. Eventually, I hear a loud tap on my door and slowly go to investigate it. And it's a policeman. He asked me to come outside with him so he can go inside the house and make sure the man didn't find the way in. Right after we get outside, my boyfriend's stepdad pulls into my driveway. My boyfriend had called him to check on me. My boyfriend was out of town at the time, and he lets me sit in his car while the policeman, guns drawn, checked the house out. The cop never found anything. No trace of the guy, no nothing. I was terrified and scared to stay home alone for quite a long time after that. I still freak out when my doorbell rings and I'm not expecting anyone. And I'm terrified that I'll find someone else staring at me through windows whenever I'm alone in a place with ground level windows.